Hey there. So we are going to go over an A-level paper here. This paper has got some issues in it that I would not want you to bring into your own, but they're very minor issues. So if you see like typos or anything like that, please know that those are not going to prevent you from getting an A unless they're, extensive. So this paper did get an A from me. So here's, let me run through this and tell you why exactly it is an A-level narrative essay, even with the errors that we will talk about. So first of all, we have a good title here. We look at this title, Father Knows Best, and we know just from the title that there is going to be a description of some experiences with this student's father, in which the father gives her some advice, or she has some kind of experience with her dad that is impactful. So we know that just from the title. And then we get into this very first paragraph. 6 a.m. on a cold Michigan morning, Dad's voice floats upstairs. It's time to get up, he says. Rolling onto my left side, I peer out of the large blue bay window across the room. Still not wanting to rise, I study what I see. It is dark outside. At the far right corner of the window, the smiling moon seems to be laughing at me. Gloom fills my spirit. Summer break and I'm up at 6 a.m. This is not fun, I thought to my 14-year-old self. Okay, this paragraph, it has got some grammatical and technical issues with it, some punctuation issues, but it is really good because it sets the scene and it tells us so much. Think about what is going on in this paragraph. Sorry, guys, had to shut the door. Think about what is going on in this paragraph that makes it so incredibly helpful to you as a reader. We know where she is. We know how old she is. We know what time of year it is. We know what time it is. We know that she's not thrilled about this. She's having to wake up very early in the morning during her summer break. Then she goes on and explains some things that might be important to know to fully understand what's going on in that paragraph. My parents divorced when I was 10 years old. Mother left Dad in Michigan with her children in tow to rebuild her life in her native state of Virginia. Dad, of course, remained in Michigan. From then on, every summer, the entire summer, was spent with Dad. So we get from this a little bit of an explanation about why it's all about Dad in that first paragraph. We understand how long her parents have been divorced, maybe how long she's been doing this thing of visiting with her dad in the summer. Look at some of the details that she's included in that first paragraph. You might think initially when you look at them that they're not really that important, but she makes them important later on. So any details you include in your essay must pay off later. Otherwise, they just seem like you're padding your paper. So we will find out later on why she's getting up at 6 a.m. and why she's in Michigan. See, we already know that because she's told us about her parents splitting up. So we'll go on. Throwing back my favorite handmade quilt for my sleepy body, I prepare for swim lessons. Each summer, Dad required we all learn a life skill. This particular summer, the skill was swimming. This is a super good paragraph too. Even though it's very short, we understand from this paragraph that she's under a quilt, that she's still very sleepy, she's getting up for swim lessons, and that her dad is the type of dad who requires his kids to gain knowledge. And that says a lot about her father as well as who she becomes as she grows older. Racing downstairs to beat my sisters and brothers, I wash my face and brush my teeth with the new toothbrush Mom always buys for our summer trip. That tells us something about her mother as well. We learn that her mom always wants them to have good good dental hygiene on their summer trip. But we also learn that her mom is looking out for the little things as well. Makes sure that the kids have the stuff that they need. I grab a ripe banana off the kitchen counter and run towards Dad's old black Pontiac. The cold air stings my face, and I'm glad we don't live in Michigan year-round any longer. Now, she's made reference to cold air a number of times already. So it's early enough in the summer that it's still chilly in Michigan. Now, I've never been that far up north, but it seems odd to me that it would be that cold in Michigan. So I would want a little bit of information about maybe, is it really that cold, or is it just kind of cold because you're not used to it? Where do you live during the regular season? Is it Virginia and you're having to go from someplace that's pretty warm usually into cold weather? Give us a little bit of an explanation, because as a long time, all my life Southerner, it seems odd for it to be cold in the summer. Let's have some explanation. Obtaining the coveted front seat, I watched the sun rising. There are an array of colors: pink, purple, orange, blue. This vision of God's loveliness is the only thing I enjoyed about being up so early. So we get from this that she does have the ability, even as a 14-year-old kid, she has the ability to see some beauty in the world, even if she's been, rousted from her bed pre-dawn hours. And also, obviously, this part right here made me really laugh. The coveted front seat. If you have siblings, you probably remember as a kid running for the car and yelling, "I call front seat," or something. I mean, that's what me and my sister used to do. And, so it's a good way to make your reader feel like y'all have something in common. So I know that I have something in common with this student, even though she and I have very different backgrounds. With everyone ready and in the car, Dad takes us to our swim lesson. Upon arrival, my brothers, sisters, and I proceed to the locker room to dress out. I was the oldest person at 14 to be in beginner class, a fact I did not appreciate. So now we learn that she is the oldest person in her class for the swim lesson, and she goes on and explains what the lesson that day has to do with. It's jumping off the diving board into the deep end of the pool and then swimming to the edge of the pool. So we also learn that she's had a fear of heights, and jumping into the deep end of the pool is not something she's been looking forward to. So she's really laying some groundwork here for us to understand the import of what's going on. She's with her dad. She doesn't want to disappoint her dad. She doesn't spend much time with her dad outside of the summer due to them living so far apart. So you can, even without her having to specifically say it, you know what's going on here. She describes here very, very well what it's like to get onto the diving board. Note some of the descriptors that she uses here. Stepping onto the cool, long, white diving board, my heart starts racing. The end of it seems a million miles away. Cold fear grips me like a vice. There's another reference to cold. I'm paralyzed and can't move another inch. "Go, Vilma, go," the youngsters behind encouraged. This prompts me to move until I reach the end of the diving board. So this kind of puts you in her shoes. This is what you want to do. Looking down into the clear, rippling water, I became more terrified. Out of my peripheral vision, I see my dad. When he reaches me, he warns that if I don't jump, he will push me off the diving board. Before I can react, my father gives me a swift push, and into the water I go. So he has now pushed her into the water. He's not going to stand around and wait for her to make that decision herself. He's going to take things into his own hands. Instinctively, my training kicks in and I suddenly realize I'm no longer afraid. When my feet touch the rough bottom of the pool, I push off of it and start my way back up to the surface. Waiting for me was Dad, leaning against the wall with a smile as big as Texas on his face. I know this look. He is happy and proud that I didn't panic when I hit the water. So she's telling us here that what he did made sense. And, kind of as a parent, you might read that and think, oh my God, how horrible to push your kid into the pool. But he knew enough about his daughter, and he knew enough about her abilities and who she is as a person that she would be able to handle it. And it also goes a long way to explain how what a very good parent he is, because you see that she is familiar with his look of pride. She has seen this look before, which is important to note. Going home after the swim lesson that day, my brothers and sisters teased me. Dad replied, "Sometimes all you need is a nudge." As everyone filed out of the car, I lagged behind so I could speak with Dad alone. "Thanks for pushing me, Dad," I said. "Any time, young lady," he replied, and planted a firm kiss on top of my forehead. This is a beautiful conclusion to this essay. She's pulling it all together, and she's giving us an unspoken kind of so what for this essay. I mean, look at that. She is able to basically tell the story of how her dad pushes her to improve herself. And I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here and say that Dad probably continues to push her throughout her life to be better and to become a more self-actualized person who can go swimming and who can learn things and do hard things. And she is telling him that she recognizes what he's done. So as you are drafting and redrafting and revising, make sure that you see if you can't do this kind of work. Don't include details that don't pertain. Don't include anything in here in the essay that's not going to pay off for the reader. Now, I'm going to do another video after this one and post it with a paper like I'm doing with this one so that you can see what an F essay looks like.